I lifted my mother's rucksack into the back of my parents' pickup truck, kissed her goodbye, and waved as she drove off to South America to help my father with his archaeological dig studying the Easter Island megaliths. She'd be gone for 4 weeks. At 15, I was old enough to stay behind and not travel with her for the first time, but it was clear my 19-year-old sister Samantha was in charge while she was away. What no one expected was that as soon as the truck left, Jason, Samantha's boyfriend, pulled into the driveway in his beaten-up van. "Hey, short stuff," he said, messing up my hair. Samantha came out with her own rucksack. She'd already made it clear to me that she'd be touring with the band Jason and 2 friends had formed. She'd done the same the previous year while I was with our parents in China on that dig, even though they forbade it. I'd found out from my friend Mark, who'd seen them playing at a holiday park. I hadn't exactly blackmailed Samantha then, but my parents did notice she was pitching in with chores more often, which made them think she'd matured. So when summer plans came up this year, they were happy to let her take charge, and I managed to negotiate favorable terms with her while pretending to be upset about being left alone. "Alex, I hope I can trust you. Here's all the money Mum left us. Remember, it's our secret, don't burn the house down," she said before hopping into the van and waving until she disappeared. Machiavelli couldn't have done better. I had the house to myself for the next 4 weeks, my sister owing me, and enough money for my own little schemes. I walked back inside and forced myself to sit and watch TV, convincing myself someone would come back, forgetting something or changing plans. After 3 hours of pacing with a nervous, hollow excitement in my stomach, Samantha called to say they'd reached the coast, at the club where they'd play for the week, and checked if everything was okay with me. I called the airport and confirmed my mother's flight had left on time. Finally, I felt calm enough to start. I picked up the phone and, with my most pleasant voice, though I was shaking almost as much as my hands, I booked an appointment at the beauty parlor for first thing the next day. It was early evening, and I decided to begin my preparations. Over the past few months, I'd been secretly collecting small items belonging to my mother and sister. Now I arranged them on my dresser, pairs of stockings from the laundry basket, nearly finished cosmetics from the bathroom, small things no one would miss. I hid them under the floorboards in my bedroom. I undressed and studied myself in the mirror. I was short for my age, about 5'3", average weight, but not stocky like some other short boys. My mousy brown hair had grown long, just reaching my shoulders, giving me a slightly girlish look similar to some members of popular boy bands. I had a small tuft of fine hair on my chin and upper lip, and under my arms. I applied some depilatory cream I'd gotten, rubbed it in, then stepped into the shower letting the hot water wash over me. I barely slept that night, too excited. For the next few weeks, I was going to be Alex Stein. I woke up an hour before my alarm and lay there smiling for a while. After showering again, I wrapped myself in a soft, fluffy robe and had some breakfast. Then I stepped into my sister's room, not for the first time, as I'd explored it many times before and tried on nearly all her clothes. But this time, I was thinking about what to wear to present myself as a woman out in the world. First, I opened her underwear drawer and picked a pair of white satin panties. I slipped them over my smooth, hairless legs, carefully tucking away my manhood. Next, I struggled into a matching Wonder bra and checked myself in the mirror. Not bad, my sister wasn't especially well endowed, so the bra fit me well, giving a modest cleavage. At her dressing table, I was pleased to see she'd left plenty of cosmetics behind. My skin was good, so I applied just a light dusting of powder, a pink glossy lipstick, and subtle mascara. For clothes, I chose black stretch hipster jeans and a short white lace blouse that showed my bare midriff and the white bra underneath. I still needed shoes, so I borrowed from my mother's collection, her shoes fit better. I picked a pair of strappy black wedge heels that matched the jeans, added a single-chested velour coat, and a slim silver watch. Suddenly, I realized the time and had to rush to make my beauty parlor appointment. I grabbed a spare handbag with a few essentials, checked myself in the mirror one last time, and hurried out. As I rushed down the street, the reality of what I was doing hit me, and panic set in. An old man approached slowly. My mind raced, everything around me felt slowed, and I started to panic. What if I was arrested? What if I looked ridiculous? The man stopped, gently touched my arm, and said, "Are you all right, miss? You look flushed. Do you need to sit down?" I took a deep breath, smiled, and told him I was fine, just in a hurry. He smiled back warmly, telling me to take care. That smile reassured me more than anything, boosting my confidence. Walking on, I began holding my head higher, making eye contact, and smiling. Almost every time, people smiled back. My nerves eased, and I focused on my posture, taking smaller steps, standing tall without slouching. I had hoped an early appointment would mean the beauty parlor was quiet, but it was busy. I gave my name at reception and took a seat, carefully crossing my legs at the ankles. I looked around the salon, a place I'd often dreamed of entering on my way home from school. Soft carpet, delicate wallpaper, and luxurious furnishings, a far cry from the local barber I usually visited. Soft music played, and several customers relaxed while getting pampered. A young woman named Kate greeted me and showed me to a chair by the mirror. I told her I had an important job interview in the city and wanted the full treatment: manicure, facial, a stylish haircut, something glamorous. Kate suggested a new hair color and showed me a picture of a model with blonde, sculpted layered hair that would suit my face and be easy to manage. I protested, saying I couldn't pull off such a bold look, but Kate insisted it would help me get the job and the man. I agreed. "Alexstein," she said, "it's wonderful to have an attractive young woman in here with the courage to try something different." I blushed, embarrassed. Little did she know how true that was. I thanked her quietly. Not only was I passing as a girl, but I was passing as a pretty one. "Ready to begin?" I smiled again. My hair was washed, then wrapped in foils with the chemical to lighten it blonde. My skin was treated with various creams and ointments. A manicurist applied extensions, filed, sanded, and painted my nails. My eyebrows were plucked, and makeup applied. When it was all done, I looked in the mirror and saw not a 15-year-old boy but an attractive woman in her 20s. Kate leaned her head on my shoulder and smiled. "Forget the city," she said. "You should be a model." As I left the salon, my spirits soared. Now it was time for some fun, shopping. It sounds silly now, but when the sales assistant at the first department asked my size, I had no clue. I'd only ever worn my mother's or sister's clothes, and since they were bigger, everything felt loose on me. Being honest, I told her I didn't know my size and that it had been ages since I'd bought anything. I left out that the last thing I'd purchased was a football shirt. With the skill of a seasoned pro who'd spotted a perfect customer, she pulled out a tape measure and took my measurements. After about an hour of trying on clothes, I settled on an elegant sleeveless black dress, a fitted collarless blue jacket with a matching skirt, plus a whole collection of underwear, blouses, tights, and stockings. The department store was fairly conservative, so afterward I headed to a trendier part of town to explore edgier shops. Caught up in the excitement of shopping for Alexstein for the first time, I went a bit wild and spent far more than planned, especially at the last store, a sleek, minimalist space of glass and chrome, staffed by people who looked like they stepped straight out of Vogue. Foolishly, I'd already spent beyond my budget, but I fell head over heels for a short leather miniskirt that would look amazing with the boots and patterned tights I'd bought earlier. One of the salesgirls came over and asked if I needed help. I admitted I loved the skirt, but it was expensive. "Try it on," she said. I wanted to see it with the tights and boots, and she replied, "No problem, take your time." To my surprise, she followed me to the fitting room and began helping me dress. She was chatty and bold, opening my bags and commenting on everything, even asking if she could try on the black dress I'd bought earlier. Not waiting for an answer, she started changing in the adjacent cubicle. She introduced herself as Brooke and started gossiping about her job and boyfriend, as if we were longtime friends. Once dressed, we stepped out to check ourselves in the mirror. Brooke smiled and said, "Girl, you look foxy." I struck a pose and admitted she was right, I looked hot. Other staff gathered, fussing over me. If it was a sales tactic, it worked perfectly. I'd have spent every last penny on that dress. This dress and me, it's destiny. I'm taking it, I said. Wait. Before you pay, Brooke said, running behind the counter to grab a Polaroid camera. She snapped a picture of me, then handed it to another assistant and said, "Take one of both of us." 4 more photos followed, with lots of laughter and hugs. This seemed like a fantastic place to work. After changing back, I was ready to pay for the skirt. "I have an idea," Brooke said. "I know you're worried about the cost. Take the skirt on approval, and if you're free tomorrow around lunchtime, come back. I might have a proposal for you. Won't you get in trouble with the boss? And how do you know you can trust me to return? First, if you hadn't noticed, I'm still wearing your dress, which I seriously love. Second, I am the boss." We shook hands with grins. Hours of shopping in heels had started to wear on my legs, so I treated myself to a taxi home. But as I approached my door, I realized I'd forgotten my keys in the rush that morning. I checked the windows, none open. I knew the neighbors had a spare key for emergencies, but I couldn't exactly ask them like this. I had to stay calm. I had to stop acting like a boy. This summer, I was living as a woman, an adult, on my own. What would my mother do? Look up the yellow pages and call a locksmith? There was a phone at the nearby petrol station. When I called the locksmith, he said it would be 4 hours before he could get there. But when I put on my sweetest voice and explained I was a girl, all alone and scared, pleading for help, he promised to rearrange his schedule and be there in 20 minutes. I was definitely learning there were perks to being a girl. I nearly cheered when I saw the van pull up to the house. Liam, as he later introduced himself, was tall and lean. Dressed in jeans and a scruffy tee, he waved with a mischievous grin as he slid open the van's side door and pulled out a leather utility belt packed with tools. "Simple lockout," he said. "If you can just show me some ID, a driver's license, or anything official to prove you live here, I'll have you back inside in no time." I hadn't planned for this. Liam suggested I might have something in my handbag. Panicking, I dropped the bag. It had only been about 7 hours since I'd gone blonde, but I must have looked like the dizzy blonde stereotype. Frozen, staring at the mess on the floor, my only thought was to run. Liam crouched down, scooped everything back into the bag, and pulled out an official-looking card. "Laura Harper, member of the local university's Archaeological Association," he read aloud, then winked. "Looks like today's my lucky day." Lucky for him, that was the only ID in my mother's bag without a photo. While I finished tidying, Liam moved to the door, pulled out a metal card, and faster than I could with a key, unlocked and opened the door, letting himself in. "White coffee with sugar," he called as he headed toward the kitchen. By the time I arrived, he'd already made himself comfortable. "What about your other jobs?" I asked. "Minimum call-out fee for half an hour," he teased. "You've still got time to have your wicked way with me if you want." As I prepared the coffee, Liam flirted outrageously. He sipped slowly, cradling the cup with both hands, eyes locked on me over the rim. I caught him checking me out more than once when he thought I wasn't looking. I was enjoying myself but tired and didn't want things to go too far. He started complimenting my perfume and leaned in to smell it. Just as he reached for my hand to admire the ring I wore, his phone rang. It was his boss, and from the tone, it sounded like a scolding. Liam's whole demeanor shifted, becoming sheepish. "I've got to go," he said. "But I'll be back tomorrow with the bill." I saw him out, sure he could have billed me right then and there. He just wanted a reason to come back. I locked the door with extra care. The last thing I needed was an unexpected visit from Liam. After showering, I collapsed into bed, naked, aching feet and a racing mind replaying the day's adventures. Finally, I slipped into a deep, deep sleep. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.